Hey YouTube, it is League turnover today, mercifully, and we are back to Open Great League, Ultra League, and Master League. I'm just going to do Great League teams if you want to play Ultra League, Master League. I'm sure you know the meta better at this point than I do, because I do not play either leagues much. But I do play Great League a lot, and this is the top meta Pokemon for Great League. We're going to go over a bunch of teams for myself and Home Slice. The meta, I won't talk about it too much, because I've got a lot of these Pokemon on teams, so I'll just talk about their strengths there. But it's not surprising that this meta is filled with a bunch of buffed Pokemon. Lapras with your Psywave and Sparkling Aria combo. Sableye now with Foul Play down at 5. And not only that, it's mostly, I think, the Dazzling Gleam gives you an incredible coverage. Grumpig with Psywave. Dynamic Punch buff on Dusknoir. Hex buff on Dusclops. And then just your Jellicent buff with Hex, and then you Cladle with Mud Slap. So a bunch of just buff Pokemon rising to the top 20. I think some of these are overrated. Some of them are very, very strong. And then you just have your normal cores, right? Like Mandibuzz as your best flyer, Clodsire is your best poison ground. You got your Feraligatr just with Hydrokin and Shadow Claw combo, Morpeko with the insane Aura Wheel, Diggersby with its bulk and coverage, Gastrodon just with its Mud Slap. So it's a very, I think somewhat straightforward meta. It's just there's a lot of typings that you're just gonna see a lot: water, ghost, and I think some dark as well. And then your normal like poison stuff. And then you're gonna have just the one-off strong Pokemon. Like for grass, you'll see Jumpluff and Superior. And then I think like Pokemon like Guzzlord are underrated. But otherwise, it's a pretty straightforward meta. And just because it's straightforward doesn't mean it's like easy to team build, because there's so many Pokemon that now have play. So it's like last season plus like a bunch of like 7 or 8, probably even more than that, like 10 new Pokemon that have play this season. So it'll be interesting to see how the meta shapes up as we now enter like the first real week of Great League. We had the first week of Great League, but everyone's just testing new Pokemon, right? And then it went straight to Ultra League and Master League, and we haven't had Great League since. So it should be interesting to see how the meta shapes out. So I'll just go over a couple Pokemon that I used on teams, why the team worked or didn't work, and buffed and why they are buffed and what makes them better. Jellicent with Hex, honestly, my personal opinion is I don't see a place for Jellicent in this meta. Hex is buffed, and it does a little more damage and a little more energy, but you just don't have the bulk that you need in the Great League compared to some of these other ghost Pokemon. And I found that like often, because Hex is not really a hard-hitting move, it spans pretty quick though, but you still need like usually a Shadow Ball and a Surf for most Pokemon, and then you can't take as much as you think you should be able to for being a Jellicent. It's great in Ultra League, but I don't think it has as much play in Great League. I think I just go with other ghosts, honestly. But the other Pokemon I tested it with was Cradily. And Cradily's kind of a nice one. Only 12 to get to a Grass Knot, which is a really hard-hitting move, and now Rock Tomb, which hits harder, or it's just quicker to get to, and guarantees the lowering of the attack. It's a nice coverage play, right? Especially for something that's half grass. So really nice coverage Pokemon. Being able to lower your opponent's attack after 12 turns is pretty strong. And I just think it has a lot of coverage in the meta, just because it's like a lot of you like offset a lot of your weaknesses, because like Rock is weak to ground, but Grass resists ground. Grass is weak to fire, but Rock resists fire. So it just offsets a lot of your weaknesses, which makes it a kind of unique Pokemon. And then Primate to deal with some of like the steals that you're not going to have anything on Cradily for there. Grumpig, Diggersby, Guzzlord. So this is an ABB style team. I don't know if I did super great with this team, but there's two things I would note here. Let's just start with Guzzlord. I think Guzzlord should be a top like 15 Pokemon in this meta. I just think that it has insane amount of resistances against the main meta type. You resist water, you resist grass, you resist electric, you resist ghost, and just so many of the main meta Pokemon that you resist. So I think that right off the bat makes it great. And then the Dragon Tail Brutal Swing does really add up. So I think if it's a Pokemon that you want to grind with, I think it's a good one to grind with. Grumpig was an interesting one. Now, I think it's very strong. I think whenever you get Psywave on a Pokemon and stab Psywave at that, it's a fantastic. And then the Shadow Ball, Dynamic Punch are strong enough, are both great coverage moves, and at the same time pretty quick to get to. Only 12 to a Dynamic Punch, 14 to a Shadow Ball. I guess where like you maybe feel it a bit is both those moves are non-stab, same type attack bonus if you don't know what stab is. So in Pokemon Go, when you throw a move that is the same typing as your typing, you get an extra little bonus. So that's why Psywave feels like it's really great on Grumpig because it is a psychic move and you're a psychic Pokemon. Whereas Shadow Ball and Dynamic Punch, you don't get stab on, so you don't get that extra little bonus there. So again, they're good moves in themselves, so you don't need to worry about that. You need to worry about your typing. Weak to Dark and Ghost, and that is everywhere right now, right? Ghost buff like crazy. So they're everywhere, and because Ghosts are buff like crazy, Darks are showing up everywhere. Because there's already some meta Dark Pokemon to begin with, and now people are looking for Darks to deal with all these Psychic, Psywave users, and other Pokemon, right? So it's kind of a tricky one. Again, it's still good, but I just be aware that you could get beat by a lot of the meta Pokemon. Speaking about a lot of the meta Pokemon, I tried Dusclops and Dusknoir. My opinion is Dusclops is fantastic with Hex. Just because of you're so bulky that you can take a lot of charge moves, but the spam on this thing, look at that, 9996 to the Shadow Punch, and if you want some coverage, 12999 on the Ice Punch. So I just remember playing with this, and it's just like I'm at another Shadow Punch, just like spam after spam after spam. It really adds up there. Now Dusknoir, I played with Astonish, and I saw Homeslice played with Hex, and even after I played it without even watching his video, I'm like, I think Hex may be better on Dusknoir because you have Dynamic Punch, which is a fantastic, again, a good move in general. Non-stab, you get a great move in general. Dusknoir is more attack heavy, so you can't take a ton of damage. And I just found that like with the Astonish, it's hard hitting, but it's a little slow. And you often, when I played with it, you need shields with it if you're going to use Astonish, Shadow Punch, Dynamic Punch, because you're pretty glassy. And by the time you get to charge moves 12 and 15, you know, it feels not super slow, but it's not the quickest, right? It's not your 8 or 10. I guess you have 9s on the second and fourth Shadow Punch, but I just think that like you may want to consider Hex, or just make sure you have shields for this thing that can, with shields you can probably ramp through Pokemon. Emolga surprised me how strong it was, how strong it felt. And the problem with Emolga was before, Acrobatics was a great move, Discharge was a whatever move, but you can never one-shot with Acrobatics. I mean, you still can, but you can never one-shot with Acrobatics before, but it just cost more energy, and Discharge was higher too. So you just had these moves that took a while to get to and wouldn't one-shot, and you were, on the other hand, like not bulky enough to take charge moves yourself. Thundershock, Discharge, and Acrobatics have all been buffed in the last couple seasons. And so now it just felt like Acrobatics getting to it in 14 and 12 turns, you're not going to one-shot it was great, that's fine. But getting to it in 14 and 12 was great. And now Discharge in 10 and 8, I was able to Acrobatics and Discharge combo a lot of Pokemon, which you were never able to do before. So I think it's a huge improvement for this Pokemon. Obviously, you're going to be like Pokemon like Morpeko or something, going to be big problems. So that's why I paired with Quagsire in the back. You can use any other Mudboy, Gastrodon, or whatever. I just decided to use Quagsire, and it's just a balanced team. Togetic, same sort of concept of a team, balanced team with your answer for Morpeko in the back. Togetic was, again, kind of an interesting one. Fair Wind doesn't obviously do any damage, kind of like Thundershock, right? It's just more of a fast charging move. Dazzling Gleam, as you can see on Sableye and Togetic, buffed, quicker to get to, and a decently hitting hard move. So with same type of attack bonus, those Dazzling Gleams really add up. Psyshock, same sort of concept. It's almost the same concept as Emolga, where you have a fast charging move. You have a really hard hitting move that won't one shot, but is now playing better. Acrobatics and Dazzling Gleam. And you have a move, a quicker, somewhat bait move that does okay chip damage and usually enough to take out the rest of the Pokemon. So they do kind of play fairly similar ideas in how you would play them out. So definitely one worth testing out as well. Obviously a great answer for like the fighters and stuff like that. Cradle, Malamar, Dunsparce. Try Dunsparce again. Rollout damage got nerfed. You do feel that rollout damage nerf a bit, but it's not the worst. Malamar with Foul Play, I've gone over multiple times, but if you have not seen that, Foul Play is now quicker to get to. Does less damage, but on Malamar, that's fine. Because before you were often going to Foul Play. Superpower is the better damage per energy move. So in almost all scenarios, unless it's like resisted, you want to go superpower over foul play. The problem is superpower lowers your attack and defense. So if you throw that, you usually need to like reset or be on your last move. So a lot of times you have to go up to the foul play, which is like 12 turns, I think, to get to. You had to go to the foul play, throw that, and then eventually get to the superpowers that you wanted to throw anyways. So now having that bait move that you want in foul play at the same energy is a huge improvement for Malamar. So that's why it makes it so strong. Cladle got Rock Tomb buff. So Rock Tomb, again, lowers your opponent's attack, which is really strong. Everything about Cladle has been buffed like 17 times over the last 20 seasons. This is the first time that it's actually somewhat usable. Again, I personally think it's good. Don't make it wrong. I don't want to just dismiss it. It's good because same type attack bonus on Mud Slap. Scorching Sands is a great move. Rock Tomb now buffed. Nice coverage move for your flyers that you're otherwise going to have problems with. Fantastic. Your typing is garbage. Your typing is weak to like 6 things. It's weak to ground is weak to grass and water and ice. And then your psychic is resistant to weak to ghost and dark. And it's just like, holy crap, there's like everything in every freaking main typing in the meta you are weak to, which can make it very, very, very tricky at times. So just be aware if you're going to use it. And this one I use Blastoise as a safe swap. Now, maybe I just need to get my head around it. I felt when I did the video that it was not as strong as I thought it would be. I would just rather use Feraligatr. But they play very, very different roles, so you got to just be aware of that. And the main reason is if you have been playing with Hydro Cannon users, you've been playing with Swampert, Feraligatr, and Greninja, which just like absolutely like destroy you with these Hydro Cannons. But Blastoise feels like underwhelmed at times. Like you need to throw like sometimes 3 Hydro Cannons. Sometimes, yeah, I don't know about 4, but at least 3 Hydro Cannons in some of these matchups where like before that was like never a thought, right? So but obviously you get bulk with it. So it plays a lot different. A lot of people are using SA swaps. I just think if I'm going to use a SA swap, I'm probably just using Lapras over Blastoise is my feeling. And if I want to use a Hydro Cannon user, I probably feel like Feraligatr has more play. That's just my feeling, but you can test it out yourself. Home Slice did a couple Ferrets with Sucker Punched and buffed Galarian Weezing. If you have a Galarian Weezing with that Shadow, I used the non-Shadow and I found it underwhelming, but with the Shadow, it would make a significant difference. So I think if you have Shadow, Sludge, Galarian Weezing, definitely a strong Pokemon there because Sludge is a really good move now. And then Sucker Punch, I just found that it was kind of tricky. Again, non-stab, which is never great. Swift having stab there and then buffing Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch in itself is a good move, but just non-stab. I guess so many other your weakness is fighting. So if you see a fighter and you have just a resisted charge move, and there's also like a lot of darks and stuff now too. So if that's resisted, yeah, but it does have play. So just there's one option there. Oh yeah, I put in 2. But yeah, I already talked about Weezing. So this is again just sort of a balanced team, weak to ground. Also now Sludge on Swampert. I kind of mentioned it. If Hydro Cannon is resisted, Sludge actually does more damage. So you can just throw Sludge there. Any other time you're probably just throwing. I mean, if it's super effective against grass, good coverage move. But otherwise, you're probably just throwing Hydro. The only one I haven't talked about on this is Skeldure. Torch Song is really, really fun. I used it in the Ultra League, and maybe it plays different in the Ultra League than the Great League, because Great League has a lot more weaknesses. But in the Ultra League, it was very, very strong. Just being able to ramp up what is already one of the best damage per energy and energy per turn like move in the game and Incinerate, just being able to buff that was really, really fun to play with. You play with it differently though. When I play with it in the Ultra League, I was basically like 2-shielding it and just trying to ramp up and run through with Incinerate. So that would be my suggestion if you want to use that. And then of course there's Lapras, which is so strong. Psywave. Sparkling Aria is a fantastic move. You get to it in like 12, and you get same type of attack bonus on it. It really hits hard. And then you also have like for non-XL Pokemon, really, really nice like stat products. So definitely a Pokemon worth using. So you're sure you're going to see all those Pokemon that I talked about. They're all very, very strong in their own right. And that is it. So please send me some Great League battles. This is on for 2 weeks, and we're going to showcase a lot of Great League teams. So that is it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.